A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis with me. I'm Saumya, and like every day, you and I shall be looking at UPSC relevant articles from the Hindu newspaper New Delhi edition. And today, being 24th of January, let me quickly show you which articles I have selected for discussion. Now, here on your screen is the QR code. Yesterday, some students were having a struggle in just, looking at the QR code properly. So here it is on a separate slide. You can scan now, you can scan later as well to join the Telegram channel. And it is through the Telegram channel that I keep sharing the PDFs with you and any other important UPSC relevant material that I find will help you prepare shall be posted through the Telegram. So right here is the link for you. And then here are about 5 articles that I have taken for the day. You might be wondering why just 5 articles today, because it was a less dense paper. And more than that, although these articles are 5 in number, but again, they are quite intensive articles. So we need to understand in depth. Now, here are 2 places that we shall analyze through map today. One, of course, is the Donbas area in Ukraine. I know most of you are aware now about the boundary between Russia and Ukraine. You have made some very effective mnemonics and you know what I'm talking about, but still, today let's look at some new points also about the Donbas area, what is going on right now with the map. And then we shall travel to a place called Africa, the African continent, but today a new country, Uganda. Many times we have seen so many other nations of Africa recently. Today we shall look at Uganda. What's happening in Uganda? Why was it in the news today? Okay. So let me then begin with the first article for the day. That is page number 6, editorial page article. It says delimitation after 2027. Redrawing power in India. Naturally, we are looking at the delimitation exercise. We are looking at the representation of various Indian states at the level of parliament in India. So therefore, which topic of UPSC is being spoken about here? So this is GS paper 2 because we are looking at polity and governance as the UPSC syllabus. And now, like every day, before we can start looking at this article in detail, let me quickly welcome all my dear students who have joined the class. And let me welcome then Rishi, Sitaram, Terukula, Sumed, Bulbul, Kazu, Kaizan, Jeevit, Himanshu. Codename World Cricket, Kavish, Ishan, Aman, Shakti, Satya, Shubham, Pranarthi, Terukula, Tarun. I wonder why Ramu is not here yet, Vikash is not here yet, Kojumba is not here yet. But all my many other aspirants are here. Very good. Yes, it is GS paper 2. So now let us start looking at this article in thorough detail. What are we talking about? So this article from Polity and Governance is looking at how finally in 2027 India is going to have now its delimitation exercise, the delimitation enumeration. But what do you mean by delimitation? What does it mean? Delimitation is the constitutional process. It is the constitutional process of redrawing, recreating electoral boundaries and reallocating Lok Sabha seats among the Indian states based on the population and demographic changes. That is known as delimitation. We know that ultimately in Lok Sabha, that is the House of People, various states have their representations. That's the spirit of Indian democracy. Now, which state will get how many seats in Lok Sabha? All that is understood through the delimitation process. Very good. As Tarun defines beautifully, so does Ishan and Terukula. It is the process of deciding the new representation of every state at the level of Lok Sabha. Although it is a routine exercise, but the next exercise is the most significant for us. The most important delimitation is going to happen now in 2027. Why like that? Why? Because although it is a routine exercise, but since independence, the one that we will face now in 27 is the most awaited one. And why is it so crucial? That's the bigger question. If we say this is the most crucial one, then why is it so crucial? It is crucial because seat distribution among states in India has been frozen. It has been fixed. It has been stagnant since 1976. Now, 1976 is a very important year for Indian history and politics. If I ask you why, you will remind me that in 1976, We created India's unique population policy. We passed the 42nd Amendment Act. It was the period of emergency under Miss Indira Gandhi's regime. And therefore, we passed the 42nd Amendment that is known as mini constitution in itself, which gave Indian constitution, rather Indian preamble, important words like secular, socialist. Yes, so that's 1976. So now what has happened? Seat distribution in India has been frozen. It has never been changed. It has never been altered since 1976, and it has been based on 1971 census data figures. Yes. Now, why is 1971 so memorable? How can we remember 1971? One, because right now we have not done any delimitation after 1976. It has been frozen. It has been based on the census data of 1971. But in 1971, few other developments also happened in India. The most remarkable was India-Pakistan war, which led to the creation of Bangladesh. At the same time, yesterday, Vikash was reminding us that 1971 was also about the Ramsar Convention. So that is also one way we can remember 1971. Absolutely, as Terukula says, the Bangladesh War. Yes, brilliant. Very good. And as Tarun says, then we speak about the forced population control program in India, which backfired very badly. And therefore, later the government changed it and named it Family Welfare Program. All these are the problems associated with India's emergency period. Very good. So do remember both these years. The last delimitation was done based on 1971 data of census, and it has been frozen since 1976. Very good morning, Priyanshu and Satya. We need to redo it again, therefore. We have to redraw the boundaries. Now, during 2001, we had the 84th Constitutional Amendment in India, which extended this freeze until the first census after 2026. So you see, two things have happened here. First, after 1976, we have done no kind of delimitation. The delimitation has been fixed to the 1971 census data, but in 2001, we passed an amendment of Indian Constitution. 84th Amendment. Never get confused between 84th and 86th Amendment. 86th Amendment we have discussed thoroughly in the last 10 years. Sorry, in the last 10 days. Under 86th Amendment, we talk about the right to education in India. Yes? 86th, 2002, don't forget that. Right to education. Now I'm looking at 84th. 84th was passed in 2001. What was the objective? It further extended the pause on delimitation until India gets its new census data after 2026. But we were supposed to get a census data in 2021. We all know we did not get that data because of COVID pandemic and many more reasons, financial constraints. We could not finalize the 2021 census data figure. Therefore, now the government has started making questionnaires. The process of census has now been initiated. Perhaps we will have the census data by, say, 2027. Yes, but the issue today is that the census 2027 will now decide the new delimitation, finally for the first time after 1976. So it's a very big moment for India. Today, we have changed the demographic landscape of our country completely. A country, the largest populated country in the world, with barely 2% area of the world, but more than 16% of the global population. India today has a population of 1.47 billion. When we had the previous census data, we just had a population of 548 million. Today we have grown to 1.47 billion, and that's a massive population. Massive population. Yes. So in 2002, we decided that although it is high time to have the delimitation done, but we shall not start with it immediately. We will have certain protocols, we will have certain commission rules, but the final delimitation will only be done once the 2027 or 26 census operation is completed. But right now we have just started. Probably it will be 2027 by the time we get the data of census, or maybe December 26. So for the first time after 1976, we are going to finally conduct a delimitation. But you see, why is that a matter of concern? Because today our population is 1.47 billion. So for the first time, we are dealing with a census at such a large scale. Many times I have told you, 2011 census was very well known. It was the first paperless census in India. It was the first census in which we counted the population of trans and third gender population. Very remarkable. But now the 2027 one is supposedly going to be the most digitized, is supposedly going to deal with 1.47 billion people for the first time in our history. Now, what are the practical challenges that we are facing as a country? In the previous years, in past, the delimitation exercise has normally taken about 3 to 3.5 years. Okay, so either 3 to 3.5 years. Sometimes the delimitation has also consumed a period of about 5 years. So you see, it's a very time-taking procedure. Delimitation can take anywhere up to 3.5 to 5.5 years. And the last delimitation that we had, as Terukula was talking about, from 2002 to 2008, it only led to redrawing of the boundaries. Only the boundaries of the states, within the states, inside the states, intra-state boundaries were redrawn. They were never redrawn between the states. Now, there is a very big difference between intra and inter. During the delimitation exercise, as you just mentioned, Terukula, that was briefly conducted between 2002 to 2008, we conducted intra-state boundaries redraw. Intra-state boundaries were redrawn. Okay? Intra-state boundaries. And what do you mean by intra-state? Within the state. Today, for the first time, after these many years, we are going to do a redrawing of boundaries between the states. And when you do between the states, that becomes inter, not intra. Okay, so far we have never drawn boundaries between the states. Now the next delimitation commission therefore must, very good, the new delimitation commission must relocate the seats among states for the first time since 1976. And this is the most important point of this article, that for the first time since 1976, we are now going to redraw the boundaries in an interstate manner between the states. We need to therefore redraw all the constituencies, all of them. We need to create constituencies with 33% reservation that we have promised to Indian women. That's again very important. Now the delimitation will redraw boundaries, and this will also lead to the much promised, the 128th amendment, the 128th constitutional bill. It will also lead to the reservation of 33% seats for Indian women in the parliament. Yes. Now, even if the census data comes by 2028, the delimitation will take time. It is unlikely that we can finish the delimitation before 2031 or 2032. As I said, delimitation is time consuming. It can take up to 3.5 to 5.5 years. So even if you get the right census data, proper figures are there by 2028, we will still take time. And by the time you are able to complete the delimitation between state, interstate, it may become 2032. What does that mean? It means that although we are promising reservation to women up to 33%, 1/3 seats to them, but they may not get any benefit before 2034 election. Yes. So therefore, the reservation can only be implemented after 2034 elections. So what is the major issue now? The major issue is the debate between population and fairness. Earlier, as you and I have spoken about the Election Commission of India, if my students remember, then Election Commission of India is which article of the Constitution? Which article of the Constitution? Yes, Terukula, Kazu, Satya, Adi, Anup. Which article of the Constitution are we looking at, Sitaram? Election Commission of India? Brilliant. Article 324 and Article 326 we have discussed many times. Yes? Now, which article am I referring to when I'm talking about the Finance Commission of India? If I say Central Finance Commission, in that case, which article am I talking about? This is Election Commission, well done. What about Finance Commission? Which article deals with Finance Commission? Yes, Tarun. Adi, Mohan, Shakti, Terukula, Sitaram, Pranarthi. Sumedh, which article deals with Finance Commission? Very good. Article 280 of the Constitution deals with Finance Commission. And Article 281 deals with the horizontal and the vertical devolution of funds from the Central Finance Commission to the various states in India. I have discussed with you earlier that in India, Finance Commission is very controversial. States like Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have often complained that we have successfully reduced our population. Our fertility rate is below replacement level fertility of 2.1. We have controlled our population. And despite that, majority of funds from Finance Commission under Article 281, horizontal devolution between states, it always goes to states that are poor and those who are highly populated. These states therefore feel a sense of injustice, that because their GDP is high and they have controlled population, they are getting punished by not getting enough money from the Finance Commission. Today, a similar debate is visible in the case of delimitation too. We are having the debate between population versus transparency. What is going on? The core problem today is that in 1970s, majority of Indian states, very good, now listen carefully. In 1970s, majority of Indian states had similar fertility rates. But today things have changed. The southern and the western states are already experiencing below replacement level fertility, 2.1. And what is replacement level fertility? When one woman has exactly two children. So that population is naturally balanced and you don't have to artificially do anything to control population. It is perfect fertility rate. But the world is not a perfect place to be in. Very good. So therefore, what is happening? Now, the fertility rate across the world is very variable. I have told you multiple times, there are societies like South Korea, Japan, Russia, Canada, US, which are experiencing aging population. These are becoming grey societies. Majority people are old here. But on the other hand, there are continents like Africa. There are continents like Asia with countries like India and other South Asian nations which have a very high fertility rate. Even within India, there is a variation. There are southern and western states which have been able to reduce their population so much that today it has fallen below the level of replacement level fertility. It is touching 1.6 to 1.5. But there are other states like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, where still you see a much higher population. Population here, fertility rate here even today is more than 2.5. Recently Bihar had 2.8. You see the variation in fertility rate. So these states who have controlled their population are angry naturally. They are very angry today. They are saying that we have been able to control our population below the replacement level. What does that mean? If delimitation is done on the basis of population, will we get a lesser representation in the parliament? And those which have not been able to control their population and it is much above 2.5, they will get more representation in the parliament. Is that a fair thing to do? Whether it is Finance Commission Article 281 giving them more money or whether it's giving them more seats in Lok Sabha. Why in India do we always support the states that are more backward in terms of GDP and that have a higher population? Why don't we encourage and reward the performance of states which have been able to control their population? North Indian states, case studies being Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, have a much higher population growth. But today what is going on? The seats in India under the delimitation exercise are purely distributed on the basis of population. So everything, one thing is very clear. Don't worry, bacha, focus. If there is any spamming, I'll take care of that. You focus here. Now, in India right now under delimitation, the seats in the parliament are given, allocated only on the basis of population, purely on the basis of population. And if we continue to follow this criteria, then Uttar Pradesh will have 151 seats. Bihar will have 82 seats. Together, both of them will control more than 30% of Lok Sabha. Tamil Nadu will have 53, Kerala will have 23. And this is a moral paradox. Moral paradox. States, instead of getting rewarded for controlling population, are losing their political influence at the level of Lok Sabha. This is the core debate of this article. Now, Mr. Amit Shah had said in 2025 that no South Indian state will ever lose their seat. We will not allow them to suffer. But if the North Indian states keep on gaining more and more seats, then the southern influence on the parliament is sure to decline. Because the parliament works on absolute number. There are majorities like absolute majority, special majority. In all these cases, numbers matter. Parliamentary procedure works on the basis of numbers, absolute numbers. It doesn't work on the basis of proportion. So, therefore, avoiding redistribution altogether could invite a constitution challenge, that is, Article 41. If we do not do justice to the South Indian states, we are denying them the right to equality. We are not giving them representation in Lok Sabha. So, do we have any options? Is there a solution that the government can now undertake to make sure there is no bias against the South Indian states which have reduced their population? Yes. There are 6 options given in this article. One by one, let's quickly talk about them. 1. Extend the freeze further. Since 1976, as Terukula was mentioning, as Sitaram and a few other students were mentioning, since 1976, we have frozen, stopped the delimitation. We can extend that freeze to few more years. We can extend that too. Again, is there a benefit in this? Yes. We will protect the South Indian states whose population has fallen down. Is there a negative side of that? Yes. It is unfair to the states that are growing very fast. They are getting to pay a price because these are big states. And therefore, it makes them legally vulnerable. Second point, we can expand the size of Lok Sabha. We can, yes, very good, Hari. We can extend the size of Lok Sabha. We can also make Lok Sabha to go up to 750 or 888 seats. In that case, no state will lose any seat anymore. But once again, the larger states will have the domination, even if you make the seats up to 1,000. But still, Parliament works on numbers. The larger states will still continue to dominate because their population is very high. Third option, a recalculated formula. For example, 70 to 80% population. When you do delimitation, do it on the basis of population, yes, but also on the basis of development. If you are using population as a criteria, use it up to 70% only. The remaining 30% can be development. For example, states that are better in GDP, better in industrial output, states that have reduced their population should be given more representation as a reward in Lok Sabha that will encourage other states to do the same. Those states which have improved literacy, health status, and fertility control must be given some benefits. Reward good governance, just like Finance Commission formulas are now thinking of doing. One option is there. Strengthen the Rajya Sabha as a federal chamber. Restore the law that any Minister of Parliament in Rajya Sabha will have to have a domicile coming from their respective states, and reduce population bias when it comes to state seat allocation. Yes. Now, another option, another very offbeat option is to bifurcate big states like Uttar Pradesh. Divide Uttar Pradesh into 2 to 3 states for the purpose of delimitation. For example, Bundelkhand, Purvanchal, only for the purpose of delimitation. This will prevent one state from dominating the parliament. Now, bacha, listen one thing carefully. About 3-4 months before, we had discussed another controversy when Justice Nagaratna had pointed out that although in the Supreme Court, when you talk about the collegium system, we always say that collegium should represent judges from all the states of India. But unfortunately, in India's collegium at the Supreme Court, few states always have more domination like UP and Gujarat. She said it is not fair. Today, third time the same debate is coming. One in the case of what Justice Nagaratna said, second in the case of Finance Commission, and third today in the case of delimitation. So can we break down states into constituencies for delimitation? That's one idea. The last idea given by the article is that implement seat changes only after 2 elections. Let 2034 happen. Let 2039 happen. Only after that we can think about delimitation again. Until then, please continue the way it is. It will reduce political shock as well as it will mean respecting the constitution. What is the broader controversy that has emerged from this article? The broader controversy is that India is a federal country, a quasi-federal country, but states are a very important element of our quasi-federal character. Yes, of course, under Schedule 7, it is the union government that has a much better say, more legislative powers, but that doesn't mean that states are not important. In India's regionalistic setup, states are equal participants in growth. That is cooperative federalism. Today, under the new delimitation, by giving 2 or more states with high population, more than half of the seats of Lok Sabha, we are reducing the purpose of cooperative federalism, and coalition politics will also change because of this situation. Regional parties will lose their bargaining power, and constitutional fairness and political stability may become crucial questions here. So, therefore, a perfect delimitation would be something in which you are giving importance to population, but you are also giving equal importance to development like health, education, fertility, GDP growth. That's about creating equality, Article 14. That's about encouraging good governance among states. That's about doing a strong state representation. Because if geography and demography are important, then economic growth and social development are equally important. Today, if we have to have a perfect delimitation commission, as Terukula was discussing from 2002, when we did intra-state boundary calculation, not interstate. Now we are doing interstate. Yes? So that should include population demographic experts, doctors, census data collectors. It should include legal experts. All these people must be a part of this commission, as well as those people who also pitch for the rights of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBC. So very well said. Good, you could say strong points are coming from everyone. I hope so too, Satya. That's a valid point raised by you. And somebody was mentioning the NJAC. Satya was mentioning, yes, the National Judicial Appointment Commission. Correct. That's again a whole big controversy about the first, second and the third judges case in India. So let me quickly show you the question. I hope it's clear to everyone. I hope it's clear to all my students. Okay. The question is, with reference to the proposed delimitation exercise after Census 27, consider the following statements. 1. Delimitation has been suspended since 1976 to ensure that states implementing population control measures are not disadvantaged. Second, the next delimitation exercise is expected to reallocate Lok Sabha seats among states for the first time since 1976. And third, implementation of women reservation in Lok Sabha is likely to take place before the 2029 general elections. Which of these are valid? Terukula is already answering. Well done. Thank you for confirming, Ishan, Sitaram, Santosh. So who all want to answer now? Kavish, Sitaram, Ishan have answered. Terukula was the first one to answer. Rishi, Shakti are answering. Very good. Today I'm really missing Ramu, Kojumba, Vikash. Yes. Priyanshu, he has come. Okay. Hika, Hari, Urupam, Rajnishwar. Very good. Many answers are coming. Code name Chip, Apex, Pranarithi, Himanshu, Jeevit. Well done. Well done. So which is the right answer? Absolutely A is the right answer. Kazu, Swapna, it's correct. A is the right answer. So huge round of applause because majority is right. Well done. First is right. Yes. Second is also right. The third is not right. We discussed in this article, Madhav has clarified. Oh, Kujumba is here. Good morning, dear. I thought you're not there. I missed you. Okay, wonderful. A is the right answer. Tarun. Madhav. Very good, Roshan. Very, very good. Yes. Third is not right. Madhav has clarified also because as per this article, before 2034, we will not be able to implement 33% reservation for women. It won't be possible because by the time the delimitation results will come, it will become 2028. And after that, once again, we are going to conduct the census operations. We will have to wait for that also. So by the time everything is finalized, it will become 28, 29. Next elections will also take time. So before 2034, we have no hope actually. Okay, so A and C are right then. Let's presume A is the valid answer. So well done, well answered everyone. Very good, Santosh. Thanks for pointing out. Well done. Well done, everybody. Great job. Quickly, the next article, also editorial page number 6. But this is an article that's coming from GS paper 2 again. Not polity and governance. It is coming from social issues, social justice. It is coming from, what is it coming from? It's coming from vulnerable communities of Indian society and social welfare workers like ASHA workers. In India, we have the Anganwadi workers. So ASHA, Anganwadi workers, and then there is another layer of social workers that are known as ANM, Auxiliary Nurse Midwife. All these three people are contributing by acting like a bridge between the government and the people, the poor rural people on the ground. Unfortunately, we have never done justice to these people. They are the people who are providing social justice in India by looking after children and their nourishment, by looking after pregnant, lactating mothers, their nourishment, by being the key implementers of Poshan Abhiyan, ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme, and yet they are not covered under proper labor laws in India. They are always outside the scope of labor protection laws. And that is something we are pointing out to. People who are responsible for social welfare are not getting any labor welfare, which is very unfortunate and paradoxical. So therefore, the article says right to dignity. And as beautifully as Santosh has said, when we say right to life, right to dignity, naturally we talk about Article 21 of the Constitution, that is right to life, right to dignity. Yes? Very good. Primary healthcare services, absolutely, that's the point. Okay, that's a very valid point made by Satya. All right, so well answered everyone. Now let's quickly focus here. Who are the ASHA workers? Who are these ASHA workers? ASHA workers mean accredited social healthcare activist. Yes? What are we looking at in this article? This article says ASHA workers and Anganwadi workers. Who are they? They are the frontline workers. They work on ground. Very good, Terukula. They work on ground. They are the people who go door to door to door in villages, in semi-urban areas, and then distribute things like polio vaccine, birth control. They provide menstrual hygiene equipments. They provide basic medicines, basic nutritional supplements to young children, pregnant women, lactating women. So they are the ones who act like a corridor, the bridge between the government welfare policy and the poor people on the ground. And hence they are very close to the idea of distributive justice in India. Yes. These are people who are the frontline workers. They are a very important part of nutrition, health, and welfare schemes. They are a very important part of ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme. And at the same time, they are treated like volunteers. It is so sad. Imagine you and I work day in and day night in harsh weather conditions. We are taking bicycles and going everywhere, the remotest areas to provide medical and hygienic help to people. And we are not given the status of an employee. We are treated like a volunteer. We do this because we want to do that. Nobody covers us under the labor law. Nobody. Nobody gives us any social security. Nobody is ready to give us a fixed salary. And we are treated like a volunteer, like a scheme worker, not like a regular employee. Now that's painful. That's very, very unfair to these people. Because I have spoken about ICDS, I hope everybody knows about ICDS. What is that? Integrated Child Development Scheme was initiated in India in 1975. 2 minutes back, we were looking at 1971 and 1976. Now I am saying 1975. 1975, we implemented the ICDS. It is the world's largest early childhood care program in India. Yes, and ASHA workers are a very important part of that. Brilliant, Terukula. Today, what is the problem? Yes, the problem is that ASHA and Anganwadi workers in West Bengal are protesting. They are saying we want some salary hike. They don't have a fixed salary. They don't have a kind of labor right in which their salary will keep on increasing. They will keep getting promotions. It doesn't happen with these people. Oh, Ramu is here. And how come I wasn't aware? Good morning, my dear. I was talking about you recently. I'm so happy you are also here. So, Kojumo and Ramu have really given me a surprise today. Okay. Well said, Madhav. In 1975, it has come. So today we are saying in West Bengal, Anganwadi and Asha workers are protesting that we should get a monthly salary of rupees 15,000. At least 15,000, that much we should get. Despite the essential role we play of integrating the vulnerable community into India's healthcare system, the government has denied us permanent employment status. We are not treated like permanent employees, and therefore, no labor law can be implemented on us. Is that not a paradox? Yes. Terukula, Madhav, is that not a paradox? Recently, India has combined 29 labor laws into 4 labor codes. A very important part of that was the Social Security Code 2020, in which we say even the GIG and platform workers will be provided with social security just like the formal workers. And yet, there is a gap in between. We are not bothered about doing the same thing for Asha and Anganwadi workers. We deny them labor law. And why do we deny them? Because we never consider them as employees. When they are not employees, why will they deserve a labor law? That's the flawed argument in India. If you and I talk about the historical background of how the problem started, then we must go back to 1975, the time when ICDS was created in India. The government from that time onwards kept on denying Asha workers, Anganwadi workers, the status of being a worker. If you are not a worker, you will not get any labor law. Absolutely denies the right under Article 21. It so much does. Article 14, yes, it does. It is a denial of that. And in 1975, despite the fact that Asha and Anganwadi were contributing in ICDS, the government said you are not employees and you will not get any labor protection. What happened in 1989? In 1989, another milestone was created. In 1989, a national union was formed as the workload on these people kept on increasing. But in 1991, when the government adopted the liberalization, privatization, and globalization policy, which my students on my platform, in my class, know that was LPG only from outside. From inside, it was SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, under which if the government is taking loans from IMF and World Bank, the government will in return relax its labor laws. The government will not spend money on sanitation and labor welfare. Only then will multinational companies come in your country. Only then will Bretton Woods bodies like IMF and World Bank give you loan. So we signed up for that condition. And then what happened? Because of the SAP and liberalization, social schemes expanded on paper, but Asha workers never got a permanent job. They were always considered as scheme worker or voluntary worker. Now, if you look at 1996, there was a big debate in the state of Karnataka where a tribunal in Karnataka excluded Anganwadi workers from government employee status. They said you are not a government employee. 2004 onwards, the courts in India expanded the right to food. We started talking about Eat Right Mission, Poshan Abhiyan. We spoke about reducing malnourishment, stunting, and wasting. Naturally, the government was now focusing on expanding food services to many more millions of poor children. So, naturally, if you are expanding a food scheme, you will need somebody to implement that scheme. And who are these people? Again, Asha and Anganwadi workers. Their role and their duties have increased, but the salary has never increased. The status has never improved. Now, from 2000 onwards, Asha program officially began. Initially, we had only Anganwadi. Now, let's be very clear about this, no confusions. Before, I'm writing here, before 2000, we were talking about Anganwadi workers. Who are Anganwadi workers? Who work in government primary schools, known as Anganwadi school. The National Education Policy says before a child can enter grade 1, a child must undergo at least 3 years of basic primary early schooling. This is called early childhood intervention. Now it's becoming mandatory, compulsory. But not everybody can afford that. So therefore, the government has created its own preschools known as Anganwadi schools. In these schools, children are not only educated in basic language and calculation, they are also given vaccines and supplements and food because they are all poor children. In India, we say a good nutrition outcome will always create a good educational outcome. That's the purpose of Anganwadi. Until 2000s, Anganwadi workers' workload kept on increasing, but nobody gave them government employee status, and now things change as we enter 2000 onwards. 2000 onwards, a new category of workers emerged known as Asha workers. So, when did Asha workers come? Asha workers came from 2000 onwards because now we realized to improve the health of children, we must improve the health of pregnant mothers as well. But just like their Anganwadi counterparts, Asha were also considered as volunteers, scheme workers, not government employees. Officially, Asha program, accredited social healthcare activist, was launched in 2005 by the Government of India under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It was a key component of National Rural Health Mission. It initially was focusing in the village areas, but from 2008 onwards, the focus has now come to urban areas as well. And still, they are not employees. What a paradox. Still, they are not employees, they are welfare workers or volunteers. In India, we clearly have a rule that is known as 45th Indian Labour Conference. In 2010, it said Asha and Anganwadi should have regular job, they should have a minimum salary, and they should get pension and gratuity. But neither did the Congress government nor did the NDA government. None of these, the UPA or NDA, nobody implemented the proposals of the 45th Indian Labour Conference. Nobody did that. Now, what is happening from 2015 onwards, the government has started a very different agenda. From 2015 onwards, the government has reduced the budget that used to be given to ICDS of 1975. Now, the government is giving less money to this. In 2018, the government did something unthinkable. In 2018, the government stopped giving any contribution that was a fixed contribution to Asha workers known as honoraria. Okay, honoraria. It's like an honor, it's like a fixed money that you pay. Honoraria. The government stopped paying this money to the Asha workers. Now, what happened? Your salary is not increasing. The government is not giving you anything. Now, do remember all these are centrally sponsored schemes. Don't forget, all these are centrally sponsored schemes. They are implemented through states, but they should be created and funded by the center. Now the government is saying in 2015, I am not giving funds to ICDS, budget is reduced. 2018, the government is refusing to give any money to Asha workers. What happens now? Will they be able to afford anything, even basic food and basic utilities? Inflation is on the rise, and these people are not getting any salary hike. They are unable to absorb inflation and financial shock, and that has led to repeated protest among these people. In 2014, when the government stopped giving contribution to Asha workers, what happened? The union government didn't give any money, and therefore now what happens? They were becoming poor. They were experiencing a lot of fiscal burden, financial burden. And then what happened? When they are not getting any money from the central government, the state governments have no choice. State governments cannot function without these people. Who will take care of the Anganwadi school and the poor lactating and pregnant women and poor children? Who will do? Nobody will do. So therefore, the state governments, to make up for the money stopped from the center, started now giving top-up payments to Asha workers. Yes, the biggest disruption was the COVID pandemic that also created lots of problems from 2020 onwards. Now the state governments had no choice. They needed these people. State governments are responsible for hiring them. State governments are responsible for giving them different postings, transferring them. Naturally, they will also come and protest before the state government. Nobody will directly go to central government. So states had to increase their own budgetary expenditure on Asha workers. The states gave some money from their own budget to these Asha and Anganwadi. But this is another problem. This led to unequal pay across different states. Now, all the states are not the same. Some states have much more wealth, some don't. So the Asha and Anganwadi Workers in rich states still got some money, but the ones in poor state couldn't get any money. It is a very bad practice because now it looks like the central government has been shifting its fiscal responsibility towards welfare to the states, even those states who don't have funds. And it is very exploitative because these workers have a critical role to play in India's healthcare domain. It contradicts the idea of shared social work, that social work is a social contract. It should be done through contribution by everyone. It is creating center state imbalance. States are not only hiring, states are also handling disputes regarding Asha and Anganwadi protest. There is interstate disparity also. Anganwadi workers and Asha workers in one state compare themselves to those in other states and they feel very, very deprived. States are therefore now busy handling protest. States are giving performance incentive. States are doing day to day supervision. What role is center playing? Quite well pointed out. Just like Hari says, even in the case of the Manrega Act, the same controversy has erupted. With the new bill that has come, the BGRAM bill, the central government has refused to give 100% funding for getting assured employment per year to poor people. Again, same thing is happening here. The government is running away from its fiscal responsibility. Now, complaints about delayed payment, extra workload, harassment, termination are usually handled at the state level. The workers are therefore negotiating with the state government and it has disrupted the services that are being provided to the poor people. Unfortunately, it was in 2019 that Indian government passed 4 labor laws by consolidating existing 29 labor codes in India. And which are these labor codes? The 4 new ones that have consolidated existing 29 labor codes. Old 29 have gone, new 4 have come. Which are the new 4? The Code on Social Security 2020, Industrial Relations Code 2020, the Code on Wages 2019, and Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. What's the benefit? Is any benefit so far reaching the Asha and Anganwadi? No. Maybe it will start reaching to GIG and platform workers. But whether it will reach Anganwadi and Asha, it is very unreal. Why? Because we don't even consider them as employees. If we do not even consider them as government employees, how will we consolidate them under the new labor laws? So, the biggest solution, this article says, is that legally reclassify the status of Asha and Anganwadi, even A&M, auxiliary nurse midwife, that goes back to 1957. These people must be reclassified as workers under statutory employment, and hence they should be given every benefit of the 4 new labor laws as Ramu is defining for us. They should be given certain minimum wage guarantee, and the center and states have to share the fiscal responsibility. Yes, that's the article. I hope it's clear to everyone. Before I end, there is one thing I want to say. In this article, I have spoken about Asha workers and Anganwadi workers. Anganwadi workers were there in India since 1950s. Asha workers formally started after 2005. Now there is another category of workers in India who take care of deliveries, pregnancies, and lactation among poor women. And these are known as auxiliary nurse midwives. These are a very important component of primary health care in India. I am using the word primary health care. So, therefore, I want to raise a question to my students that if I talk about primary health care of the government, which committee in India in 1946 had suggested the establishment of primary health care centers in India? Which committee in 1946 had suggested the creation of primary healthcare centers in India? You can let me know. Take your time, there's no hurry. In the meantime, also please look at this question. With reference to Asha and Anganwadi, consider these statements. 1. Anganwadi workers were historically denied the status of regular government employee under the ICDS scheme of 1975. Second, very good, Terukula. A huge round of applause. No doubt it was the Bhor committee. And if I was to specify, it was the Joseph Bhor committee. Very good. Joseph Bhor committee. No problem. Now we can learn. Joseph Bhor committee. Very well said. A very important committee in India. The Joseph Bhor committee from 1946 that recommended creating primary health centers in India. Well done, Ramu. Very well done, Shakti. Excellent. Quickly, second statement. Recommendations of 45th Indian Labour Conference regarding regularizing and giving social security for ASHA workers were fully implemented by all the governments. Third, the union government stopped its contribution to the honorary amount given to ASHA and Anganwadi in 2018, increasing their financial vulnerability. And last, significant interstate disparities in wages of ASHA and Anganwadi workers are existing due to differences in states' fiscal policies. Which of these statements are correct? Tarun Kavish Terukula Sitaram, Priyanshu Rishi, codenames many, Ishan Madhav, Santosh Shakti, Rishabh. Everybody says that the answer should be D. Is it D? Is the last statement correct? It is. Third correct? It is. Second statement. The recommendations were given by 45th Indian Labour Conference. What were these recommendations? These recommendations said, let's create a fixed wage and salary for ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers. Let's give them some inclusion as government employees. I clearly told you, both the government's NDA and the UPA, they did not take the recommendation seriously. They never implemented these recommendations. That is something I clearly said in this article as I was discussing with you. I think somewhere we have forgotten. I said that there was this commission that was created long back, 45th Indian Labour Conference. Why is everybody, Zahir, Kojumba, Eric, so focused only on on D? What did I say? I said 45th Indian Labour Conference in 2010 recommended job regularization, minimum wage and pension and gratuity towards ASHA and Anganwadi workers. But both UPA and NDA government did not implement any of these. In that case, how can the second statement be correct? These were not implemented. If second is not correct, then naturally B and C cannot be the answer. First one, Anganwadi workers are historically denied. Correct. So then, what is the problem? D is the right answer. Finally, yes, your message is now visible, Priyanshu, for the first time. Not successfully implemented. But then why are you getting confused? It's 100% correct. Have that confidence. I will keep confusing. You don't have to get confused. Very well answered. Very well answered, everyone. Yes, be happy. Well answered. No problem. Well answered. Yes, that's valid, Satya. Quickly, the next article, also editorial. After that, we are traveling, okay? We are traveling to Uganda and we are going to Donbas. So quickly focus. The last lengthy article. India and European Union, a fit partnership in a divided world. Because constantly I'm looking at India-EU relationship. There are two reasons. One is because two leaders of the European Union are now becoming the chief guest in India's Republic Day celebrations at New Delhi. That's why we are talking about European Union again and again. Second reason why we are focusing on India-EU relation is because India is experiencing a small tussle or a friction when it comes to America. Good, Terukula. And the third reason is that I want all my students, no matter those who've joined in August last year, those who are new to the platform, I don't know. But I have this hope from each and every student of mine who takes classes with me is that we should be very clear about FTA, free trade agreement. How is it different from preferential trade agreement? I still remember Eric's comment when I was discussing the New Zealand and India free trade agreement. Eric had pointed out, and very smart observation that was, that they have only given tariff reduction in few goods, not in all. Then, ma'am, why is it not a PTA? So I said, Bacha, PTA is also a form of FTA, but that was a very smart observation. FTA. Then there is something called TEPA, TEPA, which India has signed with four countries of European Union, Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. And then comes CEPA, CEPA. A very good example could be India, UK, CEPA, CEPA. So you must know about all these. All of these are a part of some kind of FTA only, free trade agreement only, but the free trade agreement is the most shallow one, in which two countries give each other some kind of tariff reduction on goods. Okay. Now, preferential is even more shallow, even more narrow when you are giving only on selected category of goods. TEPA is much broader, in which not only are you giving on goods, but also on services, on migration, visa relaxations, investment as well. But the most comprehensive and the deepest is CEPA, CEPA, very good. Like Oman UAE CEPA, very good. India Oman CEPA, India UK CEPA. These are much deeper. The most deep is CEPA. Because in CEPA, you just not talk about giving a tariff reduction on goods, services, but also you relax labor migration laws, you relax investment protocols, and therefore it's the deepest of all. CEPA. So be very clear about these. If you want, I can have a table on that and share on the Telegram so that we get clarity. Quickly, let's proceed with the article. India and European Union, the partnership in a divided world. So, but your focus, what's going on? What is happening? The visit of Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, and Antonio da Costa, to New Delhi as chief guest in India's Republic Day celebration, which is not any small thing. It is 77th Republic Day. That's why yesterday I was saying on StudyIQ we are celebrating 77% off on all our courses. So from there you can remember. India's 77th Republic Day celebration will happen now, and therefore two of these chief guests are coming. This is also a time for 16th India European Union Summit that's going to happen on 27th January. Therefore, India and EU are going to sign a very, very strategic, not symbolic, strategic free trade agreement with each other. Their presence in India, alongside Indian Prime Minister Shri Modi, shows India's new alignment with countries of European Union. A new wave of energy in India-EU ties, and Kaizen, it means Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. What is going on? What is changing? Why are things changing? Bacha, listen carefully. India and America have experienced tariff war, migration problems because of sudden hike in H-1B visa fee. America today continues to threaten countries like India, Mexico, Brazil, China, because we are all key importers of oil and gas from Russia. Because all of us are not ready to listen and compromise when it comes to 500% tariff threat coming from America. We said no, we are not buying your genetically modified corn. Sorry. We said we will not stop trading with Russia. We said we will not send any troops to the Gaza peace board. Naturally, President Trump is not very happy with us right now. He is not. So India and America relations are under strain. India rejected many accusations against India as inaccurate and as double standards of President Trump, but he is not bothered. He is even today busy making claims on Greenland, Cuba, Venezuela he has taken, and now also perhaps Colombia, threatening Iran any moment. At this juncture, when India and American ties are experiencing a fracture, Europe understands this uncertainty. Why? Because Europe is also a victim of America's mood swings and biased foreign policy. Do not forget, if President Trump has not been kind to us, he hasn't been kind to European Union either. In the last 6 months, 3 times he has insulted European Union. One, saying that it is a rotting continent. Second, by saying I will put 25% tariff on you from June 1 if you do not surrender Greenland to me. Third, by saying that I will not provide for any security guarantee to European Union, let them provide for their own security, and I'm not interested in NATO, let Ukraine surrender in front of President Putin. All these are insulting statements, and Europe understands that. Europe understands that America is not a reliable partner anymore, and therefore Europe also is now moving towards strategic autonomy. Just like India is moving from non-alignment to multi-alignment, Europe has now understood it's time to move from alignment to America to multi-alignment. So what is going on? Today we are looking at the deep potential of India-EU ties. They both have shared values, but the relationship in the past has been very slow. Why was it slow? Because for both Europe and India, America was the most important factor. India saw America as the largest trading destination, export destination, largest defense guarantor, at least against China. European Union also saw America as the biggest security giver against Russia. Today, both realize times have changed. There are disagreements about Russia China, excessive focus on ties with America. All these in past had made our relations slow, but now things have changed. Europe and India both realize it's time to be autonomic, it's time to find new reliable partners, and hence today both are signing the FTA, free trade agreement. Now, India EU FTA, now I want you to listen carefully. India EU FTA is not new. It goes back to 2007. I'm highlighting here so I don't want any mistake in the answer. India EU free trade agreement goes back to 2007. Today, it is in final stages. Which are the sectors? Both countries will reduce tariff on textile and apparel. European Union markets will reduce tariff on India's clothes, apparel, and gems and jewelry. All these are labor intensive sectors, export intensive sectors. Europe will reduce tariff on pharmaceutical and chemicals. India will have a better access to this market. Automobiles, machinery, digital services. But despite all this wonderful free trade agreement, there is a constraint. Everything is not as smooth as butter. There is a constraint. And what constraint am I talking about? I think you should know. What is that constraint? Yes, Terukula? Ramu, Sitaram? Yes, Kojumba? Hari? Yes, codename Chip, Apex, Tarun, Satya? What is the constraint? CBA, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. There are two, three kinds of tariff barriers. Very good. One tariff barrier is one trade barrier happens in the form of tariff. If America doesn't want India to sell products in its markets, America created tariff. This is called tariff barrier to trade, financial barrier. Sometimes countries do not put any tariff on or tax on your product. They provide non-tariff trade barriers. The biggest example is CBAM. For Indian products to match the environmental quality of European products is not easy. Cosmetics, electronic goods, apparel, textiles, gems and jewelry going from India to Europe market will have to match the carbon emission standard that exists in Europe. And that doesn't match right now. And therefore, the biggest fear among India and many other regions of global south is that Europe could be a great trading destination, a very stable market, but the CBAM could also challenge our benefits, our export surplus. Today, Europe imposes about 30% carbon tax on all Indian steel, cement, aluminium, and fertilizers. It produces a very high tax result for us. Therefore, our exporters will have to pay extra tax in case per capita emission of their production is high and it doesn't match European standards. In that case, India and other countries feel this is a non-tariff trade barrier and we must negotiate it through the FTA dialogue if Indian exporters need to get more benefit in European market. If Europe doesn't reduce this tax, if Europe doesn't give us time to cope with their carbon emission standards, Indian exporters will not get any benefit then. This article is therefore saying that Europe should consider giving us some reliefs. Although climate goals are to be prioritized, but the situation of developing countries must be understood. Now, second point. Another point of relationship is defense and security. European Union is proposing a security and defense partnership with India. I'm writing it here. Security and defense partnership with India. Who is imposing this? European Union is imposing this defense partnership on India, just like Europe has done with Japan and South Korea. For European Union, it will mean access to India's defense market and co-production. For India, it means more Atmanirbharta, defense production created through India. Access to advanced European technology. More joint exercises and coordination in the Indian Ocean region. to balance the China factor. Plus, with America's unpredictable nature in the West and Chinese monopoly in the East, India and European ties can tomorrow create more mutual respect, more flexibility, more market diversification, more income for Indian exporters if we are able to manage and negotiate about the CBAM barrier. That's the only barrier right now. Both are victims of America, over dependence on America. Europe and many countries of European Union, listen carefully, I have told you earlier, have continued to import oil and gas from Russia despite sanctions. It's their need. India continues to import. I told you China and India are the largest importers of Russian oil, Russian gas. Yes. So now what happens? If their trade deal becomes finalized, they both can reduce domination and of America and dependence on America. So that is the whole beauty of this relationship. More credibility, more capacity to create a resilient and multipolar world order that is outside the scope of America's domination. Is that clear to everyone? Also, the crisis about Russian oil, absolutely, that is still going on. Yes, 100% everybody will get selected, but at least focus right now. Okay, so what is this? This is a map of European Union right here. Did you see the map? The map of European Union right here. Quickly have a look at the North Atlantic, where America was capturing all the various oil tankers coming from Russia, coming from countries like Venezuela. That's why we say today Europe and American relation is spoiling. This is called transatlantic relationship through the Atlantic Ocean. Look at all these countries here. Consider how Ukraine might soon in future become a member of EU, but according to President Trump, he may not ever become a member of NATO. Turkey was in the news recently as we were looking at other countries like Yemen. Yes, that's European Union. Okay, so now quickly solve a question and then let's travel to places like Russia and Uganda and finish the class. It is still equally competitive. Turkey and Indian import from Russia is equally competitive. The point to be noted here is that India is a much larger economy as compared to Turkey, and therefore, in terms of our gross need, it's much more, much more. Plus, Turkey has easier access to West Asian oil that we don't have. For us, it's an expensive purchase. Okay, so with reference to evolving India-European Union relation, look at these statements. One, the proposed India-EU FTA negotiations began after 2015 as a response to recent geopolitical tensions. Two, the European Union's carbon border adjustment mechanism may act as a non-tariff barrier for Indian exports such as steel and cement. And three, the proposed India-EU security and defense partnership aims to promote defense co-production and greater strategic cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. Which of these are valid? Therefore, absolutely correct. So huge round of applause for everyone, whether it's Shakti, Santosh, Rishi, Elvin, Priyanshu, Sitaram, Himanshu, Tarun, or Ramu, or Sadhana, or Kavish. What about Kojumba? What about Bulbul? What about Iba? What about Zahir? Very well answered. Elvin, Apex, Ramu, correct. Huge round of applause. B is right. First is wrong. I clearly told you. The FTA had started in 2007. Now it is going to get finalized. Well done. So, Kojumba, is it clear? Bulbul, is it clear? Very good, Eric. Very good, Swapna. Zahir, is it clear? Akhtar, is it clear? Well done, Brajesh. Well done. Well done, Zahir. Absolutely. Okay, now done with the more complex articles for the day. Now you will enjoy what we are going to study. Very good, Shakti. So now focus, everyone. Just last two quick discussions and we are done. Where are we going? Where do you want to go today? No, you have no choice. Your tickets are booked. We are going to Ukraine and Russia. What is happening? Foreign page news. Russia demands Ukraine's Donbas region before talks. So far, my students have understood everything. They have created some very innovative mnemonics. When it comes to the border, the boundary between Russia and Ukraine. Yes, Ramo already talks about that. Let's quickly see the map and let me talk about what is happening in this article. Brilliant. Yes. So please focus. Let's go to Ukraine and Russia. Focus, focus, focus. What is going on, bacha? Focus. All these territories are the conflicted areas between Russia and Ukraine. It all started in 2014. In 2014, Russia did something that few countries could have imagined. Russia went ahead and captured this area called Crimea. Please look at the location of Crimea suspending and hanging over the Black Sea. Black Sea. I told you it is near to some very critical ports in this area, including the Odessa. Yes? Crimea. Russia captured Crimea. The whole world was in a state of fear. And European Union took this as an attempt of Russia to try to enter Eastern European Union regions from Ukraine onwards. At that time, NATO was much more strong. America was deeply engaged in NATO. NATO has a charter, an article called Article 5 of NATO Charter about collective defense, and hence it was seen as an attack on America and EU alike. As a result, President Trump suspended Russia from a group called G8, and G8 once again became G7, the group of seven. That was 2014. Now, things continued, and in 2022, Russia once again became very aggressive when it comes to demanding all the boundary areas with Ukraine. Ukraine is one of the easternmost areas of European Union boundaries, including others like, say, Poland, Romania. Now, the key areas of conflict starting from the north are Luhansk. Then comes Donbas, the most important region, Donbas. Then comes another area called Kherson. There is Zaporizhia, and ultimately Crimea was already gone in 2014. From 2022, the conflict is between Zaporizhia, Donbas, Kherson, Luhansk. Yes, but the most controversial area is Donbas. Today, why are we talking about it? What has happened? Today, as you and I talk, in UAE, the same country that we spoke about as we were discussing the war in Yemen, UAE, in a place called Abu Dhabi, talks are going on. It's a tripartite talk, three-party talk between Russia, Ukraine, and America. These talks are being done to create some peace between Russia and Ukraine. President Trump claims that he, who wants the Nobel Peace Prize, can today stop this war if people listen to him. He is negotiating and conducting a talk between Russia and Ukraine at Abu Dhabi, UAE. These are the first public negotiations that are going on between Russia and Ukraine since the peace process has been initiated from Donald Trump. The war has been ugly. It has never stopped in 2022. But the main point of contention, the main point of conflict continues to be Donbas. Please look at this area here. Donbas, Donetsk region. Donbas region, what is this? Donbas is in eastern Ukraine. Do you know what's the meaning of Donbas? Does anybody know what's the meaning of Donbas in local language? It means coal basin, a basin of coal basin, an area that is rich in coal reserves. That's Donbas, that's Donetsk. Now, Donbas in eastern Ukraine is the major point of fight between the two. Today, as the peace process is being spoken about in UAE, Russia has said very clearly, I will negotiate, I will adjust and create a peace when Ukraine is ready to give me Donbas. When Ukraine is ready to surrender Donbas to me. Today, openly, since 2022 to now, openly, President Putin has opened his mouth and said, I want Donbas, full stop. Russia says Ukraine should withdraw from Donbas and it should be totally given to Russia. That's the precondition for any peace. What does Ukraine say? Ukraine say, how can we give the easternmost region of Donbas? It's a coal-rich area. It is where Ukraine gets its energy needs from. I cannot give it. It's unacceptable. And today, if I give it, what's the guarantee you will not start asking for next Luhansk, tomorrow Kherson, then Zaporizhia, and one day also Kherson? I will be completely ripped of my territories. Europe supports this. Europe also says, European Union says, if everything goes away from Ukraine, there is no buffer zone between us and President Putin. And we can't trust President Putin. If he could have attacked Soviet Union, if he could have attacked Afghanistan, if Soviet could have attacked Afghanistan so ruthlessly, today, if the eastern buffer zone between Russia and Ukraine goes, Russia will penetrate tomorrow in European Union areas. Russia and its key ally, Belarus, you can see on the map here, Belarus, Russia and its key friend, Belarus, have already tried to conduct drone inspection, surveillance, and some kind of missiling has been going on in Eastern European Union countries like Romania and Poland. EU is already very insecure. Today, if Donbas goes, buffer zone also goes. But Russia has said, I am ready to surrender weapons if you give me Donbas. But that's the only precondition right now. And sorry, this is a non-negotiable precondition. Without this, I am not going to create any peace. Now, Ukrainian President Mr. Zelensky says that territory is the main reason in this war. Ukraine says giving land one by one is almost like Russia is following Chinese footstep of salami slicing. Starting from Crimea, today you are asking for Donbas, tomorrow you may ask something else. Is this a new kind of salami slicing by Russia or what is going on? Ukraine says, I am not going to sign any deal. There is no guarantee for future peace either. All these talks and negotiations are happening because President Trump G, has now convinced Mr. Zelensky at the World Economic Forum meeting in Switzerland, Davos, that please create peace, my friend. Don't fight anymore. You are a burden on me. I am not going to support you with money and weapons. I'm tired of you. I don't want to spend on you. Go make friends with President Putin. All that has followed because of that. And now, despite too much diplomatic pressure, doesn't look like the war will end. Why does it matter so much? It matters so much because this ugly spat since 2022 between Russia and Ukraine is for the first time since World War II that Europe has seen such an ugly conflict. This outcome will shape Europe's future security norms, credibility of deterrence in a war. But the bigger question that I want to ask my students, why is Russia insanely crazy behind Donbas? Why does Russia want Donbas? Why? Now understand that Donbas lies, let's see another map here. Now Donbas is this area and it is lying towards easternmost Ukraine, very close to Russia's border. Very close to Russia's border. There are 3 reasons why Russia needs Donbas. The top reason is strategic. Donbas is in eastern Ukraine. It's very close to Russian border. Controlling it means creating a buffer zone against NATO deterrence and NATO influence. Third, it helps Russia to secure all the land routes and military routes in eastern Ukraine. Second, Donbas is an area which has a very high amount of Russian-speaking population. Russian language predominates here. Russian-speaking population, the reason is also ethnic, therefore. Russian-speaking population dominates in 2 regions, Donbas and Luhansk. Donbas and Luhansk. Russian-speaking population dominates this area. That's second reason. Then Russia claims it as an attempt to protect ethnicity of Russian minorities. It's a moral justification given by Russia. All these say that Russia needs to support Russian-speaking population. And if you look at the real reason, all these are the outside reasons. What's the real reason? The real reason is Donbas means a basin of coal. Historically, it has had a great industrial value to Ukraine. Most of the coal mines, steel plants, and heavy industries of Ukraine are right here. Control over Donbas means it strengthens Russia's industrial and resource base, and that's why Russia wants that today. And that's it for this article. Don't forget these points, including the map, okay? Let's go to Uganda quickly. Answer the question. This is your visa to Uganda, quickly. With reference to Donbas area in Ukraine, consider these statements. 1. Donbas is strategically important to Russia as it provides military depth and buffer near Russia's western border. Second, the region is economically significant due to its concentration of high coal mines and heavy industries. And 3. Russia's interest in Donbas is based only on economic considerations and not on ethnic and political factors. Very easy question for my students. Quickly, let me know the answer. Take this visa, come to Uganda. Otherwise, keep staying in Ukraine only. Code name Chip answers. Rest everybody wants to continue to live in Russia, Ukraine. They are not interested in exploring Uganda. Answers are coming from Shakti, World Cricket, Madhav Hari, Eric, Sadhna, Tarun, Swapna, Rajneesh, Ramu Terukula, Sitaram, Himanshu. Well done. Well done. A is the right answer. Correct. Third is not correct. Why is it not correct? Because you know that there are three reasons why Russia wants this area. One is because strategy. It is the easternmost part of Ukraine. Russia wants to capture this to have access to land routes, and Russia wants to create a buffer between itself and Ukraine to stop NATO. Second is the rich coal basin. And third is because of protecting ethnic communities that speak in Russian language in Donbas. So it's not only economic, it's ethnic and political. Well done, Kazu. Well done, Priyanshu. Well done, Akhtar. Well done, Anoop, Santosh. Big round of applause. Clear cut majority wins. Now the last article for the day. Now that you have the visa, let's quickly go to another country today. That's Uganda. Not much about Uganda. This article said nothing, but I think you should know something about Uganda. So let's understand what's happening in Uganda. Uganda, an African country. Yes, an African country. What's going on? Uganda has detained 2,000 opposition supporters. That means some kind of a civil war, some kind of an aggression is happening in Uganda. Yesterday we saw another country, Mozambique. Mozambique. I explained to you in 2 lines what's happening in Mozambique. Do not forget what we have discussed earlier in Sudan, Somaliland, Democratic Republic of Congo. Remember all that. We will revise also. Now we are coming to Uganda. Please look at the map and understand Uganda. Uganda is right here. Look at the situation, location of Uganda. Neighbored and sharing its boundary with many other countries like South Sudan, major civil war, Tanzania, Kenya, DRC, Rwanda. All these countries are heavily characterized by ethnic conflict and civil war. And in between is Uganda with its capital Kampala. What is happening in Uganda? Please understand, there is no civil war in Uganda. There is no as such civil war that's happening, but there is a major political violence happening in Uganda. But why? Recently in Uganda on January 15th, okay? So as the new year came, January 15th, 26th, we had an election in Uganda. Presidential election happened in Uganda. Results came. After the results came, a man who is 81 years old, a man who has been president for already 6 times before, he got elected for the 7th time consecutively. Yes, this 81-year-old leader of Uganda named as President Museveni. I will write his name here. Slightly complicated spelling. It is Museveni. President Museveni has been elected for the 8th consecutive time. Very scary. 8th consecutive time. As elections happened in January 15th. So what's the problem? He has ruled Uganda for nearly 40 years now and re-elected for the 7th term consecutively. Why is it getting controversial? Because the main opposition leader, Mr. Bobby Wine has said this is an invalid election. The results were rigged. The results were created because of booth capturing and violence. We don't believe in these results. These are invalid results. The election was held during an internet blackout. Well, look at that. When these elections were going on in January 15th, Uganda was having an internet blackout. No internet in the country. And today, opposition leader Mr. Bobby says it is therefore a fake election. Booth has been captured. What does the military say? Now, very interestingly, this 80-year-old president of Uganda, Mr. Museveni, has a son whose name is Muhuzi. Okay, his son is Muhuzi. I will write his name here. Muhuzi. It is his son. Mr. Muhuzi is his son, and he is also the leader of, he's the army chief of Uganda. Army chief of Uganda, the son of the ruling president and the army chief of Uganda, Museveni's son. He therefore retaliated against the opposition ruler, Mr. Bobby. And he has said 2,000 opposition supporters are in jail right now. 30 people have been killed in the genocide. Security forces are still hunting for more protesters. And Mr. Muzuhi, the son of the president and the leader of the army, says that opposition leaders are hooligans, they are terrorists, and we will not spare them. That is what is happening in Uganda right now. So, what kind of a situation is this? It is called a post election crackdown. We can't say it's a civil war, it's a post election crackdown, where the opposition, led by Mr. Bobby, says it's a fake election. The leader, 81-year-old president, Museveni, has been elected for the seventh time. He's been the ruler for 40 years. And his son, the leader of military, supports that, but the opposition doesn't support that. Okay, so what is going on? It's not a large scale rebellion, but there is genocide, there is fear, there is killing going on, there is curfew going on, and it also means democratic backsliding in Uganda. It raises concerns, like it is raising concerns in Iran right now. It keeps raising concern in other African countries. There are concerns about human rights, use of military in civilian politics, and dynastic politics. Why the same family is getting to rule again and again and again? The president has come for the seventh time, 40 years of domination, and his own son is also the army chief. So, therefore, it is almost like a family dynastic, nepotistic politics. Yes, so not a civil war like it's happening in Syria or Sudan or Yemen, but definitely it is about a post election crackdown. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all from my side today for the Hindu. And as I take your leave, a quick reminder about the 77% off sale program that we are running to celebrate this year's Republic Day, which is a very special occasion for all of us. We at StudyIQ are offering up to 77% off on 26, 27, and 28 courses for our January batch. Those who really want to write prelims and they want to try, honestly, how does it feel to pass the prelims in 3-4 months of preparation, can sign up today. And if you want even more discount, the maximum discount possible, use code SPLIVE. Sale is ending on 27th. Same for 2027. Sale ends on 27th. For 28 enrollment, sale ends 27th. But use code SPLIVE. 77% off, plus the code will make it more discounted. Thank you so much for being with me, for the lovely interaction. God bless each one of you. May all your dreams come true. And I want to see all these 110 people who joined me today as future IAS officers. God bless you. See you tomorrow. No, see you on Monday. Okay. God bless you. Yes, very good, Alex. So bye-bye, codename Chip. Bye, Jeevit. Bye, Tarun. Bye, World Cricket. Bye, my dear Ramu. Bye, Kojumba. Bye, Sitaram. My dear Terukula. And Santosh, Sumed, Eric, and Brajesh, Kazu, Kaizan, Sadhana, Zahir, Akhtar, Sitaram, Santosh, Bulbul, Kavish, Deepak, Sam, Swapna, Tarun, Rajnishwar, Ishan, Hari, Hika, Madhav, Satya, Swapna, Shakti, and anyone else? Kaizen, Anasinu, Priyanshu, of course, Priyanshu, Elvin, and Abhilash, and Kavish, I have said. So I think that's it from my class today. Okay. Chandra, Srishti, Kaizen,